that, like parental guidance, it doesn't necessarily have a stage where it ends, but the resistance should get looser.
Okay,
I think like, when you're a baby, of course, mothers are gonna be right around the corner everywhere, watching out, making sure you don't touch the hot stove.
Yes.
They're right on your back. But then when you get older, there's a point of an independence. You go to school, they only see you at the later parts of the day, all those things. Then when you become a young adult, this is the important and crucial part. From teenage to young adult, you need to go from being an instructor to a shepherd. Walk with us.
Amen.
We're now experiencing things that you guys can actually recollect. I know you guys don't remember what you were doing in kindergarten and grade 1, but I'm sure many of you guys can remember your first boyfriend when you were a teenager and your parents told you not to have one. So walk with us during that part of life. Tell us your mistakes. Tell us when, because a lot of times, sometimes they'll be like, oh, don't be talking to boys. Tell us where you got that idea from. Because back in your day, you were talking to boys, and you know what they did to you? They gave you problems.
Okay,
So,
let's go play somebody.
Instead of just teaching us, walk through life with us. I'm going to give a small little example, small little story. So when I was learning how to drive, I had to take my road test. So you get your learners, and then you take your road test. I had to take it not once to pass, not twice to pass, not 3 times to pass. I know some of y'all looking like, okay, that's crazy. I had to take it 4 times to pass. Now here's the scary thing. Every time I went to take my test, my dad kept pressuring me, being like, you're gonna do this, you got this, you're gonna get it on your first try. And when I didn't, I was so devastated. Firstborn African daughter, this is my first time really seeing failure. I was like, who am I? You pray before you pass the test and you fail, and you're just like, okay, God, do you even exist? Like, what is this for real? Anyways, after the 4th time I took my test and I passed, my dad then later told me on the drive home, it also took me 5 times to get my road test. That would have been good to know the first time I went, the second time I went, the 3rd time I went, and also it would have motivated me when I went the 4th time to not feel defeated. But if he walked with me on things, talked about his failures, and we talk about this all the time, he knew that this is probably going to come up. I don't know if this is live stream, and he's going to be like, Tana, there you go again telling these people about this story. But regardless, what I'm just trying to say is there comes a stage where it's not that parental guidance is neglected. It's now you go to the point of walking through life with us.
Thank you.
And telling the mistakes is the first part.
Thank you. You want to add, and then we can recognize our friend.
So on top of walking with them as well, I think young people, and this happens a lot to teachers in school, because I know some of you will see that on the news there's a shortage of teachers because children don't respect teachers and things like that, right? But children cannot listen to someone who is not at a successful point, if that makes sense. So if you as a father are now trying to tell your 18-year-old boy this is not how men do things, but he knows that you as a father, you've had infidelity within your marriage and you've done all these other things. For him, how can he trust that your guidance is good guidance? So I think that's another thing that, as well as walking along with your children, and maybe in that scenario, I mean, because you're humans too as parents, it takes having to take accountability. I did this wrong thing to our family, and I'm sorry that as a father I didn't do this, or as a mother, because it's not just the fathers, it's also mothers, okay? But it takes having accountability as a parent to say, I made this mistake, but here's how I went about making it right, or trying to make it right. So I think on top of walking along with your kids, you as a parent need to also show that there's a process to life, and even as a Christian, there's a process. We sin, but we ask for forgiveness and repentance, and we make a difference. But don't stay the same.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Someone from the audience there.
I think most of what I wanted to say was mostly summarized, but there was now I have to think again. There was a point that was said, and I think, sorry, Pastor, you asked a question about about the parental guidance, and I think it goes back to how you, at the beginning of this talk, you spoke about the different stages that individuals go through as they're growing up, and throughout those stages, they require different forms of interactions and communication for them to be nurtured. In a way that they can navigate the world. So I think one of the hardest points that I've observed is between, like you said, when they're a child and you're giving them all these guidance, you're taking them to school, and they go to being a teenager, where now they're taking themselves to school and things like that, and then obviously they step into adulthood, and it's a different season of life. But I think it connects really well with what the lady said.
Tatenda.
With Tatenda
And Rachel.
Rachel.
Yes.
I did have it. It's just about, I think, changing the way that we communicate, and also understanding that now you're having, in that household, we're all adults. Yes, I'm still your child, but I'm also navigating adulthood. And then I think we also need to realize that between parents, as youth, we need to realize that there's more in common with our parents, that we have more in common with our parents than we think we do. And I think there also needs to be recognition from parents that these children actually have more in common with us than we think they do. Like, there's more in common that we all have with one another than we realize. And if we can understand that, then we can also know that sometimes the similar ways that you speak with your co-workers at work, if sometimes you can implement that at home, and your child knows that, yes, this is my mom, but this is also someone who I can come to and I can talk to and I can speak about challenges without having judgment, without saying, I told you this and I told you that. Yes, I understand you told me that, and I understand that you told me this, but now here's the mistake. So how are you going, how can we support each other so that I can navigate this mistake? And I think that's something that, as youth, we need guidance in, because I think that's how parental guidance works, as someone who myself is a young adult.
Okay, thanks a lot. One thing I get from this is, look, let us not speak at young people. Let's speak with the young people. When we speak we engage, we listen to one another, we learn from one another. I say hand over there, please. Yes. In the middle of the aisle, yes. Yeah, you was first, and let's recognize him here. We need more comments, reflections, and questions from everyone. All right? We are not hearing. Something went wrong with the mic.
Did you turn it off? No. Looks like it's on. Thank you for this opportunity. What I can navigate to on what has been said and what I can say to our kids, I think there's a clash of culture here. What I can say is, we brought these kids into this country. I'm going back to the sermon that has been said before. But I don't have any regrets. Regrets that we are having. We are raising you kids in our own values, how we were raised. But when we educate you or we take you to all the tertiaries that you go through, you sort of like dumping your own culture, and you think that the culture that you are having, that you don't know even, you put it at a higher position. And as we're talking from our backgrounds, where we come from, who we are, and we are proud of being Africans. You guys, you think by learning English, because you speak fluently, then we have to run down your culture. I think that's the clashing point we need with you. And the other thing is, we are talking from a background that as people who fear God, who has led us, what makes you guys think sporting and the nightclubs are more important than following God's ways? If you want to do your stuff, we don't hinder you. But be fearful people that have got a value on yourself. You can't be a person of this color and another night you are this color. That's what you guys, you are having a clash with us. And the other thing, I can just add on before I
just a minute, yes. Yeah, just do it in a minute. We need to allow many people to speak.
Yeah, and the other thing that I'm thinking of, people who are prepared to learn, they listen. And whatever is happening to every house that you think guys were depriving you, we are doing it at the bottom of our heart, wishing you the best life in future. Don't look at it negatively. We are not depriving you in anything. But we know where you are going, you will cry. That's what we want to stop you. Sit down, be a friendly person. In whatever you are going through, you will get the answers. Our wishes are the best of you guys, not to punish you or to deprive you anything. Thank you.
All right. Sorry, sir. I want to be very, very clear, and thanks for the applause. Your problem with the youth is you give them freedom, they go to nightclubs.
No.
What's in one line, what exactly are you trying to correct?
What I was saying is,
Yes.
if I may correctly heard
Just in one line, yes. What's your concern?
I think along with the line, what I said is, what is their problem to take God's ways and you find them in the world, but that's where they are thinking that's the best way to be.
Then we are together. You are worried young people, we give them freedom, but they use it otherwise in the world. That's the major problem.
So yesterday, we were talking actually about this in terms of our community, right? Like Pastor Tatenda has mentioned, you have come to this country and brought your children to this country, and you want to raise them as Zimbabweans, but they're in Australia. So the only place they can really be a Zimbabwean is at home. Because once you go to school, you also have to code switch, you have to assimilate to the environment. Even you, as parents, when you go to work, there's some things you can no longer be an African, because the world around you doesn't understand that. So it takes a little bit of adjusting to the environment that you're in now, right? And then what you've addressed in terms of that, you are trying to cultivate your children to have values of Christ, of God, right? But within the church itself, a lot of children and young people, they don't feel valued, right? And I'm going to give a direct example from this camp, okay? Something that happened today. We have a service, a divine service for the adults. You have your speakers from Zimbabwe and Kenya, people that can address your issues at your level. We also have a service running for the youth with Pastor Tatenda. She understands them at their level. Then we have this awkward gap from the ages maybe 7 to 14. There was no service for them, right? So they were standing outside for a good hour and a half, trying to decide where to go. Because their parents are telling them, go, there's a youth service there. They get to the youth service, but the older youth are saying, you won't understand what's happening here, go over there. So where are they meant to go? So what I'm saying is, for us, it's actually on us as a community that when we are planning events such as this, we have something going on for the young people. We also get a speaker for the young people, because we've got, how many speakers? We had 3 speakers for the adults, and we had 1 speaker for the youth and 1 speaker for that age group. But it's a big age group that you're trying to cover. Because of their development, you cannot lump a 3-year-old with a 12-year-old together. It's not going to work, right? So if you want your children to grow up with those values and things like that, we also must work as a community to make sure that we are raising them in those things. It cannot just be expected that because we said at one time at this one camp that those kids are going to remember. Because how many times do you tell your kids pick up your shoes when they come home? How many times do you tell them pick up your jacket? You have to do it every day. In the same way, we need to raise them in those values every day. But what happens when we don't plan things for them is that we put them in front of the TV once again, and the TV raises them. Or they try to entertain themselves outside there. And in that, what we're saying to them is that we don't value you enough to plan a program for you, because they can't plan it for themselves. The youth plan their own program because last year they didn't have one. And they can because now they work, they have the resources to do so. As adults, you have money, and with your money and your tithes, you have bought over your speakers and you have benefited from that. But those children in that gap, they can't work. They also learn how to preach. Sorry, I'm just giving an example, but yeah, as much as we say we want our children to grow up like this, we also need volunteers to come and help those kids. Even if we do it on rotation to say, okay, just for the first hour we have this church from Maida Vale, and then the second hour we have Armadale volunteers, and the third hour we have volunteers from Livingston. So as much as we want to see this change, we need to be part of that change that we want to see.
Thanks, Rachel. Do you seem to hear what I'm hearing? What I'm hearing is we don't mind what happens to our kids all the way going up. But when their breasts are big and their voices are deep, they are now want to start experimenting with their freedom. That's when the parental foot is put on the ground. But in terms of development, value formation, we are absent. Church is adult focused and very little about developing this kid so that at the end of the day, they are self-managed.
I would like to speak as well.
But we're not condemning anyone.
I've been listening to this discussion, yes. I want to say, this culture we have here is a unique culture. It's not Zimbabwean and it's not Australian, because we are in Australia, but 90% of what we think is value has been developed in Zimbabwe, right? So we need to change and adjust to this new culture, which is not 100% Australian, because I couldn't do 100% Australian culture because I really don't know it. Yeah. Number one. Number two, our children are not the same as the 100% Australian, because you have parents that still value Zimbabwean standards. When you come home and you ask why, instead of being applauded as they do at school, we say, why are you saying why to me? That's disrespect. Because according to what I know, that's my culture. So I think all of us need to change. Not just the adults or the kids. We need to appreciate that you are in a different place than the other Australian kid. Because you're coming to my house. We come to my house, it's Zimbabwe. My house is Zimbabwe. And it's a Zimbabwe trying to learn to accommodate the culture of being Australian. Okay? So I'm not just saying we should not change. We should change as adults. Yes. Just like what we've done at this camp. I'll give the example of the camp. The first year we only had an adult speaker, right? And youth voiced out. And we had the adult and the youth speaker. And now we have two speakers. Just like last year we had two speakers. This year we have speakers and all that. Maybe we haven't got to 100%, but we're getting better. We're moving. I think young people should also be moving, as adults are also moving. Now I'm coming back to you. We should recognize that adults are not perfect. They are learning too. You should also learn too to adjust so that our culture, which is not similar to any other culture, in our house, our culture works. Yeah. So maybe it's a good platform for all of us to learn. But we can really not push the blame on any of us, because we all are learning this culture, which is unique. It's not there in Zimbabwe. It's not also here in Australia. It's just in our houses.
Okay, I think you've made a point. There was a hand. Are you the one holding the mic? Oh, okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay, me, I don't think there is a very big issue here, because, of course, on the side of the parents, we have that challenge of adjustment to try and adjust from where we come from to fit into the culture that is here in Australia.
Yes.
But there's one thing that I've realized, that as a parent, you still have a relationship that you need to maintain between you and your children. So as a parent, I have got an obligation to my family that I look at them and and see them grow in the way that I want them to grow. it doesn't matter where I am, whether I'm in Africa or I'm in Australia. So if children are growing in my house, I expect them to grow in the way that I appreciate as a parent. So there are a few things that I have also to adjust to, which I did not grow. When I grew up, it was not part of what I was doing. So yeah, he's talking about washing plates and all those things. But coming to the kids, there are certain things that when I look at my daughter growing up, there are things that when I look at her doing, I don't feel like this is the right thing. But some kids are doing them outside. Even here in church, you see them doing. But when I look at her, I don't feel like, no, this is not the right thing that I expect, because my wife doesn't do it, and I don't expect her to do it.
Okay, I think you've made a point. Thank you. While we entertain another hand, I will need either the young people themselves out there and some parents there. I'm a third party. I'm an observer. I'm just coming from outer space. I land in Australia and I hear you guys have a discussion over culture. I want to raise my children like this. No parents need to adjust here and stuff like that. Could somebody do a favor to Coach Ngwaru to say, you know what, Coach? Our cultural shock as parents, where we are missing each other with our adolescents and young adults, our problem typically is only this, it's an African, and this is where we need the help. Because right now it's all vague. I don't even know what you are talking about when we are challenging culture and defending culture. I don't even know what you are talking about. What exactly can you, young people are seated here, could you actually tell them that you young Africans who are now in Australia, our problem is this one? And then young people can tell parents, good parents, you know, like she said, we don't have a speaker for the early teens, and they're just playing basketball. And it's a typical problem, and Warren has identified it. I think next year we're going to have speakers for all those age groups. So we have solved the problem. Let's solve problems for problems that are articulated. Yes. Right now we are hiding around, I don't even know what to call culture. What is Zimbabwean culture is being offended? African culture, thank you very much. What African culture? Because as far as I'm concerned, I'll be very honest with you. I'll be very honest with you. You guys were not there when I gave a presentation. I don't know whether you were there. Daniel, he had principles that were heaven born from Jerusalem. He did not change principles, but he adapted to the culture of Babylon. He adapted. His name is not even Daniel, he's got a different name altogether. He was given he was given a different. There were a lot of things that happened in Babylon that ordinarily, can you imagine Daniel going to working Nebuchadnezzar and saying, we are going to worship a golden image. And Daniel is in the audience, he's seated there, and what have you? You have a lot of challenges that are happening in diaspora, in the Bible. Now, with Africans, can you articulate where the youth are missing it in terms of Africanicity? Then we address that. There were hands before you guys. Are you answering to this?
Yes, as well as adding.
All right, okay, let's hear. But I would want, because me, I want to go back to Africa knowing the Africans I lived in Australia, they had a challenge and were able to deal with it.
Thank you. Just allow me to do three things. Number one, to appreciate this process. I think it's positive. When we talk, and we talk with each other, and we respect each other, Amen. Something good comes out of that.
Amen.
So that's number one. And we thank the committee for organizing this and the panel.
Amen.
So when we talk with passion,
Yes.
don't feel intimidated.
No.
We are just expressing, and we are grateful for this opportunity.
Amen.
So that's the first one. The second one, just to give a little bit to what to your question.
My inquiry, yes.
Yes. Unfortunately, culture is multi-layered, and in the process of acculturation, there are several processes.
Yes.
So the first one is what we see.
Uh-huh.
It could be how people dress.
Yes.
The principle of modesty, for
Uh-huh.
example, I'm just taking
Yes.
one example.
Mhm.
This is what we see. Adventists, Zimbabwean Adventists maybe, they say the application of that principle means you have to wear a necktie, but you shouldn't wear jewelry. It could be one of the areas of conflict. We are just talking the only that surface level, but that's surface. Then you go to things, what people eat is part of culture. What people listen to as music, that's part of culture. Language. And now I'm talking what I wanted to really share. Because it's part of culture. How we talk. There's a saying in Zimbabwe, and allow me both to talk to you as well as to the group.
And
Please.
if we can shorten it so that, because
Yes,
I see
I'll
hundreds
be
of
done.
hands want to speak.
I'll be done. But I think it's very important. Language is very important.
Language.
Language.
Shona, Zulu,
Shona,
Swahili, English.
yeah.
Is that what you're calling language?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. And even at that level.
Yes.
I'm a psychiatrist. And sometimes I see young people, some are depressed, some are suicidal, and so on. And when you go down, some of the things which we don't value a lot, they matter. I'll give you what I'm saying. It's not enough time. But sometimes parents come over here and they don't speak their own language with their children. I spoke my language with my children from when they were born here. And some parents were saying, you're giving your children a hard time. Children have capacity to learn multiple languages in one go. My children could speak Shona, and they did very well in English. It's possible. So when we are discussing and they say something which I think is a bit rude, I might say, oh, okay, can you say that in Shona? And then they stop and they think and they say, maybe I shouldn't say it that way. We have communicated. So just one example.
Okay.
Number two, a lot of times we find that adults, when they are together, they are talking so negatively about their country. The country is so down.
Yeah.
The politics is so bad. There's so corruption. Negative. And then we turn around, we want our children to value our culture. The one we ran away from, the one we look down upon.
Yes.
No, there is nothing wrong from celebrating small things that are positive from your country in front of your children. It's difficult to teach people through lectures.
Yeah.
It's easier to teach them through what you do and they are observing. Sorry, I could talk more. But
No, thanks, Baba. Thanks, Baba. I get you there. Language, young people, Tatenda. I love your American accent, but you need to have a bit of Shona.
Oh no, we try.
No,
I try.
no,
And y'all heard the laugh out there? That's what happens to us when we try to speak the language.
Yeah.
We'll try and speak Shona, especially when you get more, and I'm speaking from like the young adult perspective. Perhaps your parents did or didn't speak to you in Shona a lot when you were growing up, or they did, but you only knew enough to understand. then you get to that ripe age of like 16, 17, where you're really trying to tap into your Zimbabweanness, and then you try and say something, and then y'all roar in laughter. Now, why would I want to do that again? And I think so I understand what he's saying about language, but I think also, like, I personally make my best friends, like where I'm at, my best friends are Zimbabwean. I personally make them try and speak to me in Shona, and they know better than to laugh because I'm just not going to try again. So that's one way to say the barrier.
Language, we leave it family to family. You come up with your own values and your way of, we cannot have a normative response to that. Anybody, there was somebody wanting to respond to my question. Okay, go there please.
Okay, I just wanted to say something quickly. It was mentioned before, it's not what we're talking about now, but it was mentioned about like us youth growing up and not necessarily having Christian and God-like values. And the point I just wanted to make about that is something that I feel like, I'm generalizing here, might be missing in a lot of African homes, is the like opportunity for parents and their children to just sit down and discuss and understand such values. I feel like a lot of the times when it comes to the topic of modesty, for example, like you're told, oh, don't wear anything above the knee, don't do this, don't do that, but we're not sitting down and discussing, this is what we believe in Jesus, we believe in the things that he's written in the Bible, and we believe that modesty, not only is it something that shows outwardly, it also shows inwardly. Like, modesty isn't just about what you're wearing outside, it's also about the posture of your heart. And I feel like discussing topics like these and all these specific beliefs that form our values as Christians, there's not really much space to speak about it, to discuss about it, and to debate, because through debate, that's when you have the chance to argue what you think you believe, and you hear someone else's opinion, that's when you could be like, oh, maybe they're right about that, and maybe we're wrong about this, so maybe that's when we can adjust our values.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Over there, let the mic come there, please.
Happy Sabbath, everybody. So I just want to say a few things. One thing, I agree with you, young people, about the kids, the Sabbath, or the training. Like, for example, I went there in the morning. I was looking for the kinder classes. I found the kinder and primary together. I was looking around, and then I found the youth. I think we was there with the youth. So I think we need to invest in the kids. We need to invest in the kids. In the Sabbath school, we have like 3 classes, like the primary, the kinders, the primary, the junior. And then we have the big classes, like the whole 6 classes, the children. But as an adult, you guys need to understand when we come here, we all as a refugee, we come as a refugee here. We're fighting for life as a parent. We try to make you a better life. You are our value. When we come tell you don't do this one, we don't tell you to correct you in the wrong way. We want you to be the best in our life. We can't grow you up here so you can run on the street or you can go on the club or drinking here. No, it's breaking our heart. Our heart is bleeding every day. That's why we're pointing you about Jesus. When you know Jesus, you can't run the club. And we're running for life because you're gonna have a roof on the top of your head. We're fighting. So we need to understand one another. We need to stand together. That's what I say. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Rachel will respond.
Yeah, I want to speak to that. Thank you, Mama, for that comment about investing in the kids. Because part of it is that when we don't invest in the kids here, when we talk about kids going to the drinking and clubbing and things, those things are for free. Did you know that? Did you know that out there in the world, a lot of things, the bad things that you don't want your kids to end up doing, they're for free. So that is why, yeah, I agree with you. It's very important that we invest here for the kids, because if we don't invest here when we can, and they go there and it's for free and it's easy, that's where they're going to end up. So thank you for that comment.
Okay, time is very jealous. We've just been told we've gone over time. We'll allow the last speaker in the audience, and then from there, I'll just give the closing remarks, and then the pastor is going to summarize the whole thing and end.
Thank you very much. I have 2 points to make, but I'm going to only probably mention one because we've run out of time. This is just a generalized comment. When we talk about culture, there's what we call acculturation. Acculturation is a term that is used when somebody is moving from their original culture to a place where there is a different culture to their own culture. And there are a number of things that can happen there. And there's somebody called Berry. He came up with what we call Berry's model of acculturation. So he came up with 4 terms. One of them is called assimilation, whereby an individual, for example, we came from Africa, we are now here in Australia. So assimilation is a way whereby one adopts the new culture and they reject their own culture. And then there is something called separation, where somebody rejects the new culture and they want to maintain their own culture. And then there is what you call marginalization, whereby an individual rejects both cultures, their original culture and the new culture. And then there's something called integration. Integration, they maintain their own culture and they also adopt the new culture. So of all these 4 types of ways of trying to adjust, the healthiest one was actually found to be integration, where you maintain your own culture, but at the same time you adopt the new culture. So this is very, very important to understand, because what ends up happening in families is that people can go to both extremes. One extreme whereby they want to maintain their original culture, they don't want to hear anything about the new culture. Then they end up having problems with their kids, because their kids are actually growing up here in this culture. And then the other extreme is whereby they reject their own culture there, and then they want to take 100% this culture. So the healthiest process would be, let's remember our culture, where we came from. We cannot reject that, we cannot put it away 100%. At the same time, let's understand that we are in a new environment where they say, when you are in Rome, do as the Romans do. But as Christians, we also have to adopt those things that actually agree with the Christian values as well. So this is just a generalized, sort of statement that can help us in making decisions when we discuss, sort of a specific issues. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks a million. Me, I need a bit of help because I once struggled, or sometimes I struggle, but I'm sure the gentleman, the psychiatrist over there, I think partially answered my question. But the challenge that I've seen from country to country where I have worked and coming back to Zimbabwe and out of Zimbabwe, is when you are leaving Zimbabwe, you tend to look at our religious experiences, Adventist Zimbabwe, and then we call it Adventism. You are not getting what I'm saying. To us, the way then we say, this is how Adventist music is like. Now, when you go to Botswana, now you go, my brother, let's walk, and then to a Zimbabwean, Tswanas are not Zimbabweans. The Tswanas are not Adventists. Because we have our cultural lenses of looking at, we grew up doing it this way, so this is what we call Adventist. I remember there was a time when Mark Finley was preaching was it in Nigeria? Was it Ghana? Mark Finley is preaching there, and there was a night when he wore the Ghanaian person. Remember the suit that you normally wear here. And those days we were doing it was called the uplink, downlink, satellites by local churches. My local church, the church board set in my absence, and elders came to me to say, Pastor, we are requesting as our pastor to go to the conference and air our grievance. Otherwise, we are going to stop the uplink on this local church because Mark Finley is not addressed. He is not dressed up as an Adventist. So I said, how do Adventists dress? And I could tell the Anglo-Saxon, like I'm wearing, this is Adventism. So we grew up, we were evangelized by white people, and they gave us a value. You must preach with a necktie, it must be a black suit, it must be you get the point. So when a person comes, the way you was preaching last night with his Kenyan suit and what have you, it may actually be offensive to a Zimbabwean Adventist because to them that's not how you dress. Are you getting the point? Could you come here? Sorry to. Do you see how she's dressed with her long pants and what have you? Tatenda. I will tell you from the bottom of my heart, you will not preach like this in Highfield. The elders will sit down and say, she is not Adventist. But look, when you go to one culture, what is not Adventist in one country, you may discover is Adventist in another, is acceptable in another. So Adventism is built on multicultural factors. And we cannot pin Adventism to one location. But as you travel from one country to another, to China, you begin to see that one of the ethos in the Adventist church is diversity. And if you don't want to embrace diversity, you are always going to have cultural shocks and challenges with our children and whatever. But having said that, without us as parents forcing it down your throats, we also want you young Zimbabweans to know Africans, man. Hey,
it's an African camp. Thank you.
African, it's not about just emphasizing on Zimbabwe. I want you to know that when you go to Loma Linda, you can tell these guys are from China. And the Indians, you can always tell these are Indians. And what Pakistanis, you can actually tell. Please, there is nothing wrong, like my brother said here, to maintain certain Africanicity, in as much as we also embrace these other cultures that we are growing up in. It's not a rule, but it's a pleasure to parents to know that we can keep singing African in our Australia. Pastor, thank you very much.
Right. Good afternoon and happy Sabbath, everyone. Happy Sabbath. Yeah, I've been struggling to get the chain of thought. You know, you can hug her, that is a culture.